Featuring 14-year-old girls marrying their first cousins, My Big Fat American Romani Wedding was a TLC show that aired from 2012 to 2018. If its actual title, which uses a pejorative term, didn't tip you off, the show was highly controversial. It masquerades as a docu-series uncovering the secret lives of Romani and traveler communities in America, yet focuses only on the most salacious drama within these communities, highlighting families that fight and swear profusely on camera. It heavily sexualizes underage Romani girls, portraying them as either innocent and virginal or loose and promiscuous. Depicting the historically oppressed Romani community in this way was irresponsible on TLC's part. Due to these offensive depictions, activists have criticized the show for being misleading and harmful. It capitalizes on an exoticized image of young Romani girls, exploiting their mistreatment for entertainment. The show is part of a long history of treating the Romani people as a spectacle to be gawked at. Its existence solidifies TLC's identity as a contemporary freak show that perpetuates stereotypes about marginalized groups. My Big Fat American Romani Wedding, which is what I will call the show as its actual title is considered derogatory, centers on Romani and traveler communities in the US. It's a spin-off of a British reality TV show of a similar name. It documents marriages of young girls within these communities. The show lumps together the Romani people and Irish travelers under the same derogatory term, when in reality these two groups are ethnically distinct. Though both communities are nomadic, the Romani people originate from the Indian subcontinent, while Irish travelers are indigenous to Ireland and have a distinct cultural heritage. The reductive title is a symptom of a larger issue in Western media, where these two groups are portrayed as a homogeneous mass of criminals and fortune tellers. The G word is widely considered offensive by the Romani community and, in Europe, became synonymous with dark-haired, dark-skinned foreigners. There, the Romani people faced systemic discrimination and attempted eradication during World War II. In the US, discriminatory laws targeting Romani people and their cultural practices were on the books as recently as 2010, when the Maryland Court of Appeals struck down Montgomery County's fortune-telling ban on free speech grounds. That was only 2 years before My Big Fat American Romani Wedding aired, so TLC was toying with prejudices that were, and still are, alive and well. Rather than attempting to dispel common stereotypes about Romani people, the show leans into them for shock value. By the time the show aired in 2012, a network once branded as The Learning Channel had thoroughly pivoted from educational content to reality TV. In the mid-2000s, TLC raised the tentpole for what is now a contemporary freak show, featuring a familiar cast of fat people, little people, and the mentally ill. Their lives are presented with all the sensitivity of a 19th century carnival barker in programs narrated like Animal Planet and edited like Jersey Shore. My Big Fat American Romani Wedding features a cast of predominantly low-income travelers and Ramnachal families. The backdrop for many episodes of the show is poverty. Those featured on the show often live in trailers in rural areas, and many are constantly drinking and smoking throughout each episode. Their living situations and the fact that they agreed to be on the show in the first place indicate that they likely needed whatever paltry sum of money TLC was willing to pay them. Unfortunately, the rather exploitative nature of the show doesn't end there. As many of the couples featured on the show are minors, the parents are, of course, signing all the paperwork. With some families, it's clear the kids are in a very controlling environment, with parents that are physically and verbally abusive. This is displayed in the context of normal reality TV drama, except in shows like The Real Housewives, it's grown adults physically fighting and screaming at each other. That is very different from a mother dragging her 18-year-old daughter by her hair while swearing at her, as seen in one episode. These young teens are often caught in the middle of family feuds, where one family approves of the wedding and the other doesn't. Shouting matches often break out, sometimes in the middle of the ceremony, and the newlyweds are left sitting awkwardly on the sidelines as their families throw punches at the reception. The cameras being pointed in everyone's faces certainly cranks up the drama, and TLC does little to dispel stereotypes about Romani people being uncivilized. Rather than being careful in how they portray an ethnic minority, the show goes to great lengths to portray the Ramnachal and Traveler families featured on it as exotic and backwards. Men are depicted as working providers, while women and girls are shown in montages performing domestic labor set to royalty-free, vaguely Middle Eastern folk music. For some girls, finishing high school is a point of contention among the families, and college is almost out of the question. They are expected to smoothly transition into stay-at-home motherhood. One girl was put to the test by her mother-in-law, who insisted that she clean the house to prove her worth as a wife. According to the show, young men are held to a different standard. While they can do as they please, they express misogynistic attitudes toward women, insisting that they must be virgins and serve and respect their husbands. Though TLC portrays a stereotypical picture of Ramnachal communities, these are indeed real people expressing their personal beliefs about women. Though people on the show were likely cast by the producers for their old-fashioned viewpoints, these attitudes toward women exist outside of reality TV. According to a paper I found, Romani and Traveler women experience higher rates of domestic violence than the general population. The misogyny Romani and Traveler women face fits within a larger societal context of the unique form of objectification they experience. Although I am not a post-colonial feminist scholar by any means, academics with actual credentials, like Dr. Gordon Ali Young, have noticed the emphasis placed on the chastity of these young Ramnachal brides. They are forbidden to so much as touch a boy until marriage, and their first kiss is expected to be at the altar with their family's blessing. The show portrays Ramnachal brides as confined by tradition, held down by the very dress they must wear on their wedding day. These couture wedding gowns, produced by Massachusetts-based designer Sandra Celli, are integral to the spectacle aspect of these big fat weddings. They are heavy, weighed down by tens of thousands of glimmering rhinestones, and effectively immobilizing, where brides are unable to move without the assistance of a family member. In the pilot episode, 17-year-old Cheyenne wore a 75-pound dress featuring 14,000 rhinestones, and her hips had to be padded with bandages to avoid bruising. Whenever she sat down, her small frame became engulfed in its billowing ruffles. According to Dr. Gordon Ali Young, these dresses denote purity and fertility, with the tremendous weight in the hips reflecting the burden of bearing a child. The age of these brides, some as young as 14, is part of the shock factor that made the show successful. Most of the couples are a few years older than that, ranging in age from 16 to 18, but some are well into their 20s and old enough not only to agree to marriage, but consent to be featured on the show. The way in which the show portrays underage girls especially is very concerning. There are far too many sexualized depictions of these teens, with them featured twerking and grinding on the dance floor in revealing clothing with close-up shots on their hips and midriff. Not only are the visuals unsettling, but the way adults in the show talk about these girls is creepy as well. For example, the show's fairy godmother, Sandra Celli, the dress designer responsible for all the bridal transformations, made a passing remark that she added a little sexy in the back of a 14-year-old's dress to, quote, turn the men on. Overall, these girls are not treated or discussed in an age-appropriate manner. The sexualization of these girls is in line with broader cultural depictions of Romani women, who are portrayed as loose and exotic. Not only is the age of these couples emphasized for dramatic effect, but the show often features marriages between first cousins. These Ramnachal communities are described as very insular, secluding themselves from outsiders referred to as gorgers. In the show, they describe the pressure to keep relationships not only within the community, but within the family. This pressure was on full display in one episode, which featured a love triangle between a woman named Ciara, her gorger fiancé Sam, and her cousin Kyle. She interrupted her relationship with Sam to have a week-long fling with her cousin, causing Sam to understandably fall into alcoholism. Though she reunites with Sam, her bond with Kyle endures as he is family after all. They meet clandestinely in the park and share a kiss shortly before the wedding where, much to Sam's dismay, Kyle walks her down the aisle. Sam is barely present at both the ceremony and reception, clearly drunk and smelling of alcohol. It's clear that Sierra and Sam's marriage is a mistake, and she views Sam as a provider and Kyle as her true soulmate. The show is replete with messy situations like this, as without the messiness, each episode would only feature montages of Sandra Celli bedazzling dresses for 40 minutes. Hardly compelling television. The flashy dresses, the scantily clad girls, and relationships between cousins reveal the show's true nature as a freak show attraction. Romani women have long been expected to perform for Western audiences, embodying what Dr. Gordon Alley Young describes as a tourist attraction. The advertising for the show summarizes this elegantly, featuring a montage of girls gyrating at wedding receptions and promising unprecedented access to this insular community. They're certainly channeling the spirit of P.T. Barnum with their trailers, as if they're standing in front of a circus tent, shouting, "Come see the Virgin Ramnachal Child Brides." The narration implies it's a documentary with purely anthropological interests, but the visuals expose it as the peep show it truly is. Though the show is no longer running, the TLC circus is still operating, showcasing all sorts of taboo spectacles for people to gawk at. TLC will inevitably move on and air out the business of a different historically marginalized group as endless mergers and acquisitions further degrade the quality of its programming. It remains to be seen what the network's place will be in an entertainment landscape dominated by social media, with platforms that curate the most lurid and offensive depictions of marginalized groups imaginable. Anyways, I'm Robert Tulpe, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.